everyone. Well, it's Tanya here with a market update. And this will probably be the last one for the year since we are in December already and January is just around the corner. So 2025, here we come. But I just came from an important meeting regarding our current market, and it was led by respected real estate industry expert Brian Buffini, and he was speaking with Dr. Lawrence Yun. And for those of you who don't know, Dr. Lawrence Yun is the National Association of Realtors chief economist. And the statistics for this year in real estate may be alarming to some of you and are definitely important for you to know, especially if you are thinking of buying or selling a property or properties in the near future, or you have a friend or family member who is. So these are some of the national statistics in regards to residential real estate. Firstly, in 2023, 32% of homes purchased were by first-time home buyers. And that was great, 2023, 32%. But what's interesting is that in this year, 2024, so far, as we come to the end of the year, it has dropped to 24%. And that's something for us to think about and look at and ask ourselves why. And then the next thing is that the median number of years a homeowner owned their home before selling their home in 2024 was about 10 years. And that's increased significantly over time because, for example, between the year 2000 and 2008, the median number of years a property was owned before a homeowner sold it was about 6 years. And prior to that, it was even 5 years. So now we're looking at 10 years where before someone is selling, and that's the medium number. And then now, this is one that's really important for you to lean into, which is that, and listen to, which is that in 2023, 4.1 million homes were sold nationally. And this year's numbers, as we come to a close in 2024, are going to be about the same. So you would think to yourself, okay, well, same last year, same this year, maybe same next year, but no, we don't expect it to anyway for next year. But what's more important is that this is a record low since 1995. Okay? Think about this. Last year, 2023, was 4.1 million, but just the year before, in 2022, it was 5.3 million homes sold. And the year before that, a record high, I have to tell you, 2021, was 6.12 million homes sold nationally. And then when you go to 2020, which was COVID year, we all know that, the homes that were sold nationally was 5.64 million. But let's look at 2019 and 2018, where 5.34 million homes were sold in both of those years. So you can understand what 4.1 million homes being sold nationally this year and last year means. It has not been this low, like I said, since 1995, which we're about to come up to 2025. So that's 30 years. 30 years. And here's something else we have to understand. In 1995, it was about that number, but now we're in 2025 almost, and we have a population in the US of an increase of more than 70 million people. So we have 70 million people more living now as a population in the United States, and yet the homes sold last year and this year were only 4.1 million. So it's a record low. So here's another statistic that I find very interesting, which is that 17% of buyers bought a multi-generational home in the past year. And that makes sense to me, since the first-time home buyer is more challenged financially to buy their own home, with interest rates being higher than when they were a few years ago. I mean, think about it. We were at 3% or lower interest rates in 2021. And last year, which was 2023, interest rates were as high as 8%. So we don't see, and by we, I mean the industry experts and me, we don't see interest rates going that low again in our lifetime. I mean, 3%. So remember, We had some unusual circumstances. Hint, hint, hint. We had COVID and some other factors. So, for those of you waiting for a 3% interest rate, it's not advisable because home prices are not likely to drop significantly. They just aren't. I mean, the inventory and the demand are showing that. Now, here I am in Florida, and here most of you are that I'm speaking to are in Florida, which is my client base, but I want everybody to hear this. In Florida, we have some things going on that other states may not. And that is an influx of condominiums. So there are more condominiums on the market for sale. And this is due to the increased homeowner association dues because of insurance fees going up significantly. And then we have the 40 and 50 year recertification for those older buildings that are that old. And then we have the mandatory reserves rule. So they have to have a certain amount of reserves now, and it's mandatory. And I'd be more than happy to discuss this further with you if you have questions, especially if you have a condo or you're thinking of buying one. But as it relates to your single family or townhome or villa sale or purchase, the advice from the industry experts and me, based on what I see and what we see today, is to stop waiting. Stop waiting for a crash. I've heard that so many times. And just get yourself pre-approved to buy or start prepping your home to sell. And another report that's interesting, loyalty is high, with 80%, 87% actually, of sellers saying they would recommend their agent for future services. So they've used that agent and they'd recommend them again. And obviously those agents who don't stay in touch with their clients or educate them properly don't have the loyalty that they could have if they did. But for those of us who really want to be in touch with our clients, that's what the consumer loyalty looks like. And I'm excited to hear about that because I know that I have a lot of trusted clients out there and really loyal ones, and I appreciate you. So also there has been a significant drop in sellers trying to sell their home on their own. So that's the for sale by owner who just says, you know what, I want to do it alone. So for sale by owner sales in 2024 is just 6%, and it's usually around 12%. So this real estate market that we're in right now requires a consumer to hire a professional. And please note that according to the National Association of Realtors, this is something I tell my clients a lot of the time. The most litigation between a buyer and a seller happens in a for sale by owner scenario. And why is that? It's because they don't know what they don't know. And so many things can happen in a transaction. It's unbelievable. So I also want to remind you that with these stats that I'm telling you, there are a lot of things that have been happening this year. Remember, it was an election year. And an election year, more people, statistically it shows, tend to put a pause on their sale of a home or their purchase of a home. Add that to the major changes in the real estate industry that happened just this year, which has brought much more transparency for sellers and buyers, which I believe is a good thing. Some people are thinking that these changes are not great for them as a realtor, but for me, I'm embracing it and I'm leaning into it. And again, if you want to know more about these changes, please let me know, as I would be happy to discuss them with you, as I've been discussing it with my clients, in many of my conversations over the last months. Also remember that with the interest rates not being 3% anymore, that's another reason why we have seen this drop, because people had it at 3% not too long ago. So with all of these factors, it's not that surprising that sales are lower and that, 30 years ago, this was the last time they were this low. So why am I feeling excited and optimistic right now? Because I am, and I hope you hear that in my voice. Well, because I get it. And I would be happy to discuss any questions you may have, which will give you more clarification as why we're at such a low in home sales this year and last year. But in the meantime, here's what's projected for 2025. I believe it's looking really good as we move forward. So an increase in home sales from 4.1 million to 4.5 million is what's projected. And also, another thing that's projected is that there will be interest rates are expected to hover around 6 and to 6.2%, and sometimes even lower than 6%. That's much better than the 8% that we were talking about before. And more people will be getting off the fence because the elections are now over. They want to move forward with their lives. And for renters especially, they want to own and not keep paying their landlord's mortgage payment instead of building their own wealth. So in 2025 and beyond, I'm committed to guiding you towards your goals and being dedicated to helping you fulfill your real estate dreams. And if you are buying or selling a home or had a friend or family member who is, please refer them to Tanya, because we wear the hat to bring you the facts.